Good morning, everybody from Austin, Texas. My name's Tony Cucolo, 35 years a soldier. We're going to talk about supply chain today. I guess I'm in mastering the obvious. I'm here to tell you that I've been on both ends of the supply chain, meaning I've been the person at the whip's end of US policy in some remote locations saying, I need that thing and I need it now. Why can't I have it now? And then I've been on the other end, 4 tours in the Pentagon, where it's how do we get those things in greater number and get them out there faster? Anyways, I'm going to talk a little bit about defense sector and then also put a bow on the intro. Which talked about combination of demographic shift, human factor, et cetera. So go ahead, next slide, please. Let's just dive right into the challenges in the defense sector. You can scan the slide there and see the sorts of challenges that are there. But number one is the skilled workforce. And number two, a close number two, is critical raw materials. As you well know, the audience knows this, rare earth metals and other key materials are in high demand for the kinds of technology that the Defense Department needs, and also just standard materials that we've needed for years to build munitions, et cetera. I'll explain the how we got to this in a moment, but we have an over-reliance on foreign manufacturing and transportation, and at the same time we outsourced a lot of things to third and fourth party providers of logistics. And then if there's any theme for my brief moment with you is the challenge that the Defense Department is working on is how do I make my supply chain more resilient? I don't need to tell you that every moment of every day, there are any number of state and non-state actors attempting to disrupt the United States Department of Defense supply chain. So next slide, please. Those are the main challenges. I think one of the most important things that I've learned throughout my 35 years in the military, and then another 8 now in the public and private sector. I'm CEO of a nonprofit right now that finds employment for people with disabilities located in South Austin. I grew up in a military that effectiveness ruled. Effectiveness meaning, matter of fact, let me give you effectiveness meaning we get all the stuff we need, we have it in large numbers, and we just get it ready in case it needs to be used. In the mid-90s, efficiency versus effectiveness came to dominate our supply chain as a metric. I lived it as a lieutenant colonel in the Balkans. I was there when I deployed into Bosnia with trailers of spare parts. After I used them up, I was on the receiving end of the nascent effort to do just-in-time logistics for the U.S. military. We didn't do it well in the beginning, but that was the effort for the efficiency metric. Don't want to warehouse anything. We want to get it to you just in time, et cetera. But in the effort that drove efficiency over effectiveness, the supply chain lost its resilience, meaning it could not withstand, customers could not withstand gaps in the chain, latent deliveries. In 2003 in Afghanistan, I was short several things in the winter because the ground lines of communication, as we call them, the supply chain that was ground-based was interrupted. Anyway, next slide, please. Those are the big challenges. History and culture matter. We move from a history and a culture of effectiveness over efficiency to efficiency, and we are living with the result of a lack of resilience, along with all the threats. So what is DoD doing about it? What is the Department of Defense doing about it? You can look down the list. They've got 5 priority areas. And I know we talked about, the other speakers spoke about the demand for tech, which is extreme, and also still, especially, you know, what Jordan described in space. Obviously, Department of Defense is competing in that domain as well to keep the supply chain strong, robust, and resilient. But I also want to emphasize that we still build stuff in the Department of Defense. And there is a need, you can see in the bullet there, there's a need for welders. I'm just pulling that out of one example. And so the trades, there's going to be an increased demand for trades because, as stated before, the shifting demographics, we've lost that. We've lost the generations of tradespeople. And then an effort to bring in small businesses. Yeah, we learned some lessons with third and fourth party logistics providers, but if we can build a network of trusted clusters of small businesses that can do what we need done and establish mentor-protege relationships, small businesses can become trusted entities and a part of the supply chain. So go ahead, next slide, please. Okay, now these are the things I'm seeing that help with the challenges to the DoD supply chain. I mentioned the first one. You know, the drive for efficiency was find anybody that can do this, and let's watch over them and see if we can have a relationship for a long time. Well, that might have worked in the beginning, did not work over time. So now we need trusted clusters. Artificial intelligence, machine learning enabled knowledge pyramid on everything from full asset visibility to the warehousing that will allow you to do the just-in-time sorts of deliveries. And ladies and gentlemen listening, if you're wondering about any particular subject that the Department of Defense is writing checks for, it is artificial intelligence, machine learning enabled decision support. And that goes beyond the supply chain. That goes into everything from sensor to shooter to command and strategic planning. Anyway, decision support, AI, ML enabled decision support is far and away for all services in the Department of Defense, has their greatest interest in seeking out business solutions for that. And then I'm going to end with the human factor as we started today. And that is, I believe you can, to a great degree, you can mitigate some of these supply chain challenges with strong leadership. And what am I talking about? Next slide, please. Look, from all my study, and my last job in the Army, I ran the Army War College, strategic level terminal professional military education. And we studied things like, what do you need in a strategic leader? And I offer to you, and if you could hold the slide right there, thank you so much, Jose. If you could hold the slide right there, these are the 6 traits, the way they came up, clockwise, starting with enterprise vision. I'm only going to talk about 2 of them that should be attended to by leaders if they want to mitigate some of the challenges in the supply chain. And those 2 are enterprise vision, intellectual curiosity. Karine knows I can spend an hour on each one of these things. I'm very passionate about this. But let me just bring this the panel to a close with my last shot on this. Go ahead, next. What do I mean? How does enterprise vision, intellectual curiosity play? Go ahead, next slide, please. This is the way I see it, gang. Leaders must spend the majority of their time establishing widely shared understanding. When I say that, I mean from the C-suite down to the shop floor level of understanding of why you are doing something. Amazing things will happen if everyone understands the big picture and the why. Too often leaders spend too much time nitpicking on what and how. Oftentimes with lower level leaders can take care of the what and the how if the senior leaders give a really strong and repeated why. And then intellectual curiosity. Workforces that know their leadership chain is open to new ideas, different ways of doing things, want to work and contribute to the what and the how with their own ideas. So intellectual curiosity, we need leaders who model behaviors that show they are open to new ideas. And most of the things we're talking about have very distinct processes to create the far end of the supply chain. And in this rapidly changing dynamic environment with so many challenges, you want to have employees, you want to develop and encourage employees who know the systems but are not slaves to them and are ready to offer changes on the fly. So with that, I think Jose, I think that's it for me. I'm watching the time carefully, and I want to hand it back to Karine for Q&A. Thanks.